You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Matt McGachy, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians. We talk all about their lives and music while sharing killer craft beers. If you've ever wanted to sneak backstage and share a beer with one of your favorite musicians, well, Vox and Hops is the podcast for you. This week on the podcast, I dropped a killer episode with Johannes Ekström of Avatar. There is this episode and over 440 other ones to help you enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. So what are you waiting for? It's time to become a Vox and Hops head. Cheers!
Today's episode is brought to you by Disaster Area Designs. If you've been thinking about maybe taking advantage of some of the MIDI capabilities on your Strymons, your Chase Bliss pedals, maybe you got a Dream Sequence, who knows what kind of pedals you got that have MIDI capabilities, and myself included, we're not taking full advantage of it. Well, I'm going to get Matt from Disaster Area on the show here pretty soon, but in the meantime, head on over to his website, the link is in the show notes, and check out all they've got a wide array of switchers, true bypass loopers, tap switches, MIDI controllers, just all kinds of different things that really help you get the most out of your rig. In fact, I've been told you won't use your Strymon pedals without it once you've experienced it. So that is pretty interesting to me. So head over to Disaster Area and check them out. Real quick before we get into this episode, I just want to give a quick shout out to somebody who I've talked about in the Facebook group and talked about here and there, who's largely responsible for these episodes being able to come out, because my schedule's been crazy, and he's been an enormous help, and that would be a Mr. Blake Kenny, who's taken on the editing duties for the podcast and made my life much easier in that regard. So big shout out to Blake. And a quick note on this episode, part of the reason this thing took so long to come out was because the software we used to record had some glitches going on during this particular time when we recorded, and it took Blake a huge long time, not this Blake Kenny, it took him a huge long time to edit out all these weird echoes, these weird distortion things, background noise, all this horrible, unlistenable garbage that he did a really, really good job of cleaning up, and but that is why it took so long, because the editing time, it was hours and hours and hours and hours of cutting out nonsense. So thanks to Blake for allowing this conversation to be heard, because it is a really good episode. I think Michael drags some interesting things out of me, or at least random things that I'd forgot about. So that said, there is a little bit of this high-pitched, glitchy, weird thing that we just could not get out of there without making the rest of it sound just absolutely awful. So that does happen occasionally. Apologies for that. Also, it's very long, so hopefully you guys are prepared for lots of incessant rambling from me. So without further ado, on with the show.
Hello and welcome to the Tome Mob Podcast. I'm today's host, Mike Adams. You may have heard me before on the show, but what you haven't heard is the other side of the table, the other side of the conversation, the man, the myth, the legend, Blake Wyland. Today we're going to be putting him in the hot seat. Instead of having questions lobbed at me, I'm going to be the lobber and he will be the lobbee.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dodge, like dodgeball. He's going to be throwing them, and I'm going to be like, that question? Miss me with that one. I don't even know what that question means.
Yeah, and those are the rules for today. You get 3 vetoes, 3 passes.
3 passes.
I ask you a question, you don't want to answer it, you say pass, we never mention it again, although speculation will arise on the internet, but that's neither here nor there. And certainly nothing for you to worry about. Speculation never runs rampant on the internet.
Never.
But we're going to... Yeah, never, ever, ever. What we're going to do today is we're going to crack open that skull, peel back the protective membrane, and find out what makes your mind tick.
Oh, boy.
Are you ready?
Are you a licensed surgeon?
Am I a licensed surgeon? No. Licenses are for losers, people with money. They go to their hoity-toity universities and they come out with a piece of paper that says, I can operate. Who needs that?
Well, this is true. There's more efficient ways to go about it. I'm a self-taught surgeon myself, so I can relate.
Well, all right, Blake, for my first question, what I really want to know is, who do you think you are?
Yeah, I wondered, like, who do I think I am? I've been asked that before, and it led to a street brawl. I wasn't sure.
I'm so glad I'm not in the same place as you.
Yeah, like, it was like, who do you think you are? And I was like, what do you mean, who do I think I am? Who do you think you are? And then it escalated from there. We won't get into that, but...
Are you reciting the script from the Sylvester Stallone movie Drive? Or Driven? Which one is it?
It's none of your business. This happened to me in real life, not in some Sylvester Stallone movie.
Yeah, you're reciting the script from Drive. Great job.
I think...
No, it's Driven. It is Driven. Oh, God. Wow.
Okay, to sum that up, I think that I am Sylvester Stallone, even though that's not true.
Who doesn't? But seriously, who do you think you are? Blake, you're running a podcast called The Tone Mob.
Right.
You have put yourself in this position of interviewing the greats, the luminaries, the people who are making the industry work. And you've kind of set yourself up for this like really wonderful set of opportunities to interview these people. And I don't know, what do you think is it about you that makes you the guy to do this? Who anointed you? Who put you in this place? Who made you president of Tone?
Oh, the president of Toneville. That's really funny. I kind of, I guess, put myself here because I honestly kind of went, nobody's really doing this. Why is no one doing this? Like, talking to these guys. And I like to talk. Like, that's like what I do is talk all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes incessantly, or often incessantly, or always incessantly. And so, even my family was like, this makes a lot of sense. Like, of course you would be talking, and of course you would be talking about Guitar Gear. So, why not record it and see what happens? And I was just really lucky that, pretty much everyone that I ever asked to do it was like, sure. And I'm like, this is amazing. So, who made me do it? I guess I made me do it, and everyone else let me. That's
everyone else just let you.
Yeah. So that's probably the nutshell version, I guess, of who do I think I am. I'm a guy who talks a lot and really loves Guitar Gear. So
I love that you've channeled your passion for Guitar Gear and also your passion for I guess the best way for me to describe it is connection. When I listen to the podcast, I hear you getting along with people. I hear you reaching out to people, and that's compelling to me because a lot of gear podcasts, or even the things you read from most magazines, are just kind of surface level. Pardon me. This is what a pedal does. This is the company. This company started in 2013. Blah blah blah. But you're really unique in that you are reaching out to the people behind the brand or the people behind the product. Did you think that this was ever going to be a thing for you? Did you set out to have a podcast, or did it just kind of come to you and you thought, oh, that's interesting, I'll just do it? How intentional was this?
It was intentional in the way that it was like I should be doing something related to this in this world, and I don't really know what that is. So I guess I will poke around on the internet. It started with Instagram, as many people know, because it just made sense. It was like I'll try to get myself in the gear world because I just like it so much. So how can I, how can I do it? I don't make anything. I don't, build guitars or anything like that, but I just really enjoy it, and I enjoy the products, and I just thought I gotta get in here somehow and see what's up. And so I started posting pictures just because I thought, well, what's the easiest thing? Like, I like to look at cool pictures of guitars. There's probably other people who like to look at cool pictures of guitars. I'll start here and see what happens. And then after a while, that community there started to grow, and I was like, what else do I like to do? I like to talk. I listen to podcasts all day. Wait, why are there no gear podcasts talking to these people? Like,
Yeah.
and so I just thought, we'll give it a try, and it seems to have been effective, I guess. People seem to enjoy it. Another thing, beyond the straight flapping of my gums that I like to do, I really do like people. I like meeting new people and talking to them and listening to them, and it's just that's something I like doing in all kind of areas of my life. I like meeting new people. It's really fun. So kind of what better way than to sit down and talk to somebody for an hour.
Are there any I would say archetypal examples of what you do that you kind of look to? Are there any other podcasts or interviewers that you've felt inspired or at least informed by?
Not really. I mean, I do listen to a lot of podcasts and a lot of interviewers. That's a very traditional format. I always thought that the guys at the Nerdist always did really good interviews. Like they sound really natural, and I think they are, and it seems to put people at ease and lets the conversation flow. So I would say that's probably the person that, or the show that I take the most inspiration from. There's some other guys kind of in the business world that are good interviewers too. Like Tim Ferriss. He's pretty good, but he can be kind of a blowhard, but he's a pretty good interviewer sometimes. And there's some guys like that I listen to too, but probably the Nerdist would be the closest to my style, I think. And probably the one I take the most inspiration from. Like, keep it light or go a little heavier, just see where the conversation goes and just let it happen. I mean, obviously they have questions and I have questions, but as you're fully aware, I don't always get to my questions because the conversation leads elsewhere. So that's where I let it go.
Does.
And that's that.
What kind of preparation do you do? When you said you have questions, do you do research? Do you kind of just think of, what would be the most fun thing to say to this person? What's your process?
That's usually it. Like, I have if I know nothing about it or people don't know anything, it's like a new company, one-man shop type thing. I have, the classic, like, tell me about your musical backstory, how to get you to, where you are and that kind of thing. Sometimes I'll pick people's brains about their design process, or it really, really varies. But in the beginning, I had a firmer set of questions that I would try to get to and try to make a point to get to. But I don't really worry about that anymore. As long as we get to know the person and they get to say whatever it is that they really wanted to come on the podcast to say, then I consider the job well done at that point. So
that's great.
In a nutshell, it's loosely formatted. We'll put it that way. And prep work, not much prep work. In fact, if I don't know that much about somebody, even if it's somebody well known, I will try to not research them, because the conversation actually flows better, I find, when I'm genuinely finding out for the first time what this person's story is.
I like that. I like that a lot. That actually kind of saves you from answering questions for people. If you go and look at someone's Wikipedia page and you're like, oh, you grew up in North Carolina, I don't know, it's almost like you're sucking away some of their story instead of letting them tell it. So I really appreciate that about you, and the way that you allow conversations to kind of just bloom. So that's been really a really big help for me as I've been learning to interview, learning to write compelling articles about people, that kind of thing. So yeah, dude, I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
Nice. I mean,
good answer.
Thank you. By the same token, I try not to go in and be like, oh, you do what again? I do want to know something, like, oh yeah, you're Robert Keeley and you made a compressor or something once. Like, isn't that right? I don't want to be that guy either. So I do want to, I try to look into what they're doing, but not necessarily where they came from or too much if I don't already know that. So, yeah. I try not to be completely clueless.
Now, earlier you said that you just like people. You just like talking to people. Was this a thing that appeared early on for you? Were you a pretty talkative, outgoing kid? Were you reserved, quiet? What's the story of young Blake?
I was not at all quiet or reserved. I was loud, and I talked a lot to anyone that would listen. Or at least pretended to listen. Or if there was no one to talk to, I would talk to something. Whether it was my bear or my made-up pet mouse that didn't exist. Or
what was your bear's name?
I had lots of bears. It could have been any bear.
Which bears? What bears did you have?
Like teddy bears. I had a brown one. I'm trying to remember what the tag. It had a tag on it, and so I just used whatever brand name of the bear was for the bear's name. I think it was Gund, Gund, and it was just this brown, standard brown teddy bear, and I called it Gund because it had that's what it said on the tag. That must be his name. I had a the one that I actually like was like my like favorite stuffed animal as a kid was, I called it Puppy, and it was my little ragged puppy that I took all over the place when I was like super young. That was my favorite, so I probably talked to that one a lot. It's kind of bringing back some stuff now. I'm remembering, like, I'm sure you'll remember this, when they came out with the Talk Boys from Home Alone.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Mm-hmm. I totally would sit down and record myself talking into it and like make up stories or make up fake talk shows with my friends, and like there'd be all these dumb stories and things that happened, and I forgot that we did that. But yeah, we totally made these weird little talk shows.
So the podcast thing coming forward is really just a natural extension of your play as a child. That's really interesting, man.
I didn't really... Wow. I kind of forgot that I used to do that until we started talking about what I did as a kid. And then it was like, wait a second. I used to talk into that Talk Boy all the time. So
you did these like mock radio plays.
Yeah, exactly. Or we'd come up with some idiotic, storyline of, my friends and I, and then we'd get into a quote unquote fight, and it would like, no, don't hit me with that baseball bat, type of thing. Yeah. So it was really stupid, but it was really fun. So
that's really amazing. That brings back memories for me too, of similar things like recording intros to our favorite Nickelodeon shows.
Yes.
Or my neighbor Brian, when I was a kid, used to come over, and we'd get in trouble and then use a tape recorder to record my mom yelling at us because we thought it was hilarious, and we would go back and speed it up.
Yes, of course you did.
And God, we would just giggle the whole night, drinking Cokes and eating candy, and then just listening to Michael, just screaming in a high pitched voice.
Oh, that's amazing. That's awesome.
That's really incredible, man. Like that's pretty huge that you were able to take something that was part of your formational years, like your foundational years, and you've done something with it as an adult. Like you haven't denied that joy from yourself. You haven't like let go of it. Like so many of us get older and we look for a career, or we look for something to do to make money. And you're not saying you haven't done that as well, because we're all having that struggle. But you have kind of held on to something that it seems pretty important from your childhood, and you've done something with it, and that's really commendable. That's beautiful, man.
Well, yeah, thank you. And I mean, it's kind of nice talk. Like I said, when you have these conversations, sometimes it brings these things out, because I honestly had kind of forgotten about that. I remembered I had a Talk Boy, but I didn't really put much thought into what we used to do with it. But I mean, this was for a good, probably 4 years, this was like a constant thing. And sometimes I'd do it by myself too. And then I would be the only one listening back, or I would force my mom to, and she would be like, yes, that's sweet.
As any good parent would.
Right. And now, thank you, Mom. I feel a little bit bad for doing that. But yeah, it's something I didn't really think about. So thank you for making me remember.
Oh, well, you're welcome. That's what I do. I'm in the business of memories. What else did you do as a kid? So you talked into a talk boy with your buddies, made little mock radio plays. What else was young Blake all about?
Well, definitely was always into like books. I read a lot of books. Mostly like horror fiction stuff, and that still is an interest to me currently.
Goosebumps? We talking Goosebumps?
Oh yeah, Goosebumps. I had all the Goosebumps. All of them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And
quick take. What was your fave?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I really enjoyed the classic Night of the Living Dummy, and I actually had a ventriloquist dummy for a while.
Creeped the pants off of me, dude. My cousin had a ventriloquist dummy. I did not go near that thing.
I still have it, actually, now that I think about it.
Oh.
Yeah, where is it? It's in the attic somewhere, I think. But I'm pretty sure I still have it. I gotta
leave it there. Lock the door. Don't look for it. It will kill you.
No, we were tight.
Oh, you guys were tight?
Yeah, we were tight. Yeah.
That's what you think. That's how dummies work. You think you're tight, and then murdered by a knife.
Well, that's true.
In the hand of a dummy.
I don't really want to
be more specific about that.
Right. Or the dummy had me murdered, maybe? I don't know.
Or you were just murdered randomly and the dummy was locked upstairs in the attic because he should be, and he couldn't do anything to save you.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe he would have been able to rescue me. Sorry, Charlie.
Yeah, that's the twist. That's the Shyamalan twist on that. Is that the Night of the Evil Living Dummy actually was an okay dummy. He was okay.
He was totally.
Tight. He loved you.
Yeah, he was a great dummy.
He loved you, and you locked him away because he's creepy, and he knows he's creepy. But
he didn't. I was never creeped out by it, ever. Wow. Yeah, lots of people were. Like guys would come over and be like, "Dude, can you like turn that thing around? Like it's creeping me."
Yeah, firmly in the lots category over here. Firmly in the lots category. No thanks, buddy.
So yeah, that was something I had. I always wanted to play guitar because my dad played guitar, so that was another like interest of mine. I had like a little ukulele that I just hit. I didn't play it. I just hit it. You know. But so I was always super interested in I'd see live music occasionally, and it just intrigued me that people were able to do that. Like, whoa, people, like, it's not just coming out of the radio by some magical celebrity. People actually can make music, you know?
Wow.
So, yeah.
Was your dad an active player? Did he have a band or anything, or did he just play at home for
He just
kicks?
played at home for kicks for the most part. He did play in a few bands off and on, but for the most part, that was like something he still continues to do. Just like now he's actually like pursuing some songwriting stuff, which is awesome.
Good.
Awesome to me, and they're really good. And so yeah, he was mostly a home acoustic player, and that still is the case. But he really enjoys it and likes guitars, and so that was a big part of my fascination with guitar, I believe.
I imagine having guitar playing going on in the house when you were growing up kind of set the tone for you in a lot of ways.
I think so. It just like, and it was also like, hey, can I play that? No, you can't play it. You don't know how to play it. You're you're 7, and this is expensive. So I had to wait till I was older to actually get my hands on it to where he knew I wasn't going to destroy it, basically.
How old was that?
Probably like 12, somewhere in there. 10. I played piano for a while. I think we talked about this on an episode with you. But I played piano for a good while, and then my piano instructor, I kept trying to bring her these like rock songs to play on the piano that weren't piano-based rock songs, and she was finally like, well, perhaps you should learn to play guitar because you keep planning to play, guitar-based music. And I was like, it's a good point. And we wrangled this old 70s like Takamine that was in the family that wasn't being used, and I kind of started on that. It was actually a really nice guitar. So yeah, I don't remember. I didn't maybe start playing my dad's guitars on the semi-regular until recently, because I pretty much had my own for most of the time I was learning. Or one that was considered to be mine to learn on, I guess.
And when you started playing guitar, was it about learn just whatever great rock songs you liked, or did you have other aspirations? Did you want to be a session musician? Did you want to tour? Did you want to wear all black clothing and spiked belts and be in Green Day? Or what were you thinking when you picked up a guitar? What did you want to do with it?
I just wanted to make music. I kind of knew, like, I always thought like going on tour might be fun, but I knew from like early teenage life, or early teenage years, that lifestyle was not for me at all. Like that is just, it's cool, and I'm glad so glad for the many touring musicians that do that, because then I get to go see them. But I just knew that lifestyle was never going to be for me. I just wanted to make music. It's kind of general, but that's the truth. Like, I just wanted to just create things and have an outlet for things. And that was really the big push. Whether anybody listened to it or not, if it can just be for me, that's fine.
That's a really wonderfully kind of mature stance on the thing. I mean, so many of us enter the guitar world, with dreams of being rich or famous, or adulation, or the attention of the opposite sex, that kind of thing. And so, I really like hearing when people can point at music being its own reward. That's really exciting. I wanted to know how, as a father yourself, are you planning on passing on the music torch? Are you making strides in hopefully a burgeoning interest on the part of your child?
I don't want to force him into anything that he doesn't want to do, because that was never done to me. And I've seen it done to other people, and it doesn't look fun.
No.
That said, it's like, well, he already has an amplifier named after him, and like, and he likes to come out into the shred shed like while mom's like cooking dinner or something, and he loves, I mean, this may be something in his genes, he loves tweaking knobs on pedals. Like, he'll be down.
You got a little Nick Reinhardt over there.
he'll be down there, like, I'll be playing, and he'll be down, literally, like, he's really little. He doesn't really know what he's doing, but I think he's like 15 months at this point. But he's
congrats.
Thank you. I love him so much. But he'll go in there while I'm playing, and he'll just be down there, and one time he'll always tweak things, and it'll go muddy, bright, loud, and then when he found a volume knob for the first time, he turned it up really far, and it was like, whoa, what's that? And he just looked up at me and was like, Dad, like, something's happening. I don't know what this is, but something's happening, so it's kind of fun. I think
I can't get over a child using the terms muddy and bright. I can't get over that. Oh,
well, I mean, that's what he's doing. He's like
Page Jr. starting over there, Lil Gear Page.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. He's down there, and he'll like grab the tone knob on an overdrive or something, and he'll just keep tweaking it back and forth while I'm like strumming, and so that's what it does. It's like wow wee, it's great. But so that's, and he has a guitar, or he has a couple of guitars already. Like, his grandpa, my dad, and mom bought him a Les Paul Jr., an Epiphone Les Paul Jr., and
nice.
It's way too big for him, but it looks as close to dad's as like a beginner guitar like that can. So that was part of
That's
the
fantastic.
motivation too. He seems to be interested. He always wants to strum the strings. You know, I could be projecting this on him, but I hope that he has a genuine interest in music when he grows up.
Yeah. What's that like, man? Kind of following in your own father's footsteps of the gift of music, as far as that goes. You're in that position now.
Yeah, I just hope that as anybody does, I just hope I can be a good example, whether it's getting him into music or anything else. I hope that I hope he can get into music, and I hope it brings him as much joy as it has brought me. And the rest of my family too. That my whole family really likes music, whether they play or not. They have a genuine appreciation for it, and so that was probably a big part of my formation too, I suppose.
How has having a child changed things for you? I want to know. Everybody who's a parent talks about this. And I love hearing about it because it seems to, what's the word I want to use? Whittle away at a person, gets them more to the core of who they are. Whether or not that's true for everybody, I'm not sure, but you know, it refines a person. And how has that had an effect on you?
Well, it's the thing I usually tell people is like everything that you hear that sounds super cliche ends up being true. So like when people ask you these things, you try to be, you know, interesting and come up with some new mind-blowing revelation about having children, and it's like no, that all that stuff that you hear about it being amazing and they're the greatest thing ever, it's totally true. And this is coming from a person who was just like, you know, kids are cool, but you know, that's, you know, it wasn't like it wasn't something that I just like, I'm gonna be the world's greatest dad. It was like, I think it's time to have kids. And then when you had him, it was like, oh, this is the best. This is literally the best thing ever. Like, there's nothing that will like warm you up inside more than, you know, having like your child show you affection. It's like there's nothing else like it. For a hug, it takes on a whole new meaning.
Did you ever think you'd get there?
I wasn't sure. Like I said, like some people are very kid people. I wasn't a kid person. I liked kids. I had a blast with kids. But I didn't know what it would be like, and it's better than I ever expected. I can put it that way. So.
How did you meet your wife?
My wife, so I was friends with her brother growing up. That's probably how I kind of got to know her like first. And then it just kind of evolved. I stopped being a sissy and I finally asked her to date me. After like a year of probably knowing that we liked each other. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Or maybe not that long. Maybe it just felt like that long. But it was quite some time before I just stopped being a wimp.
You said you were friends with her brother. Was this growing up as kids, or was this just later in life? What's the?
Oh yeah, growing up as like teenagers and stuff. Yeah.
Well, so you knew that you liked each other for a year.
I don't know if it was actually that long. Maybe I'm just making that up in my head, but it was some time. It probably wasn't actually a year. Maybe it just felt like a year, which as a teenager that could have been a week. But I really don't know the exact time frame, but it was a while. Yeah.
And how long have you been married?
8 years. Yes.
Wow, congrats.
Thank you.
Wow. You have any advice for people who maybe haven't been married as long as you? I know we're only at like 6. So we got a lot to learn. We can look up to you guys.
Man, I am the last person on the face of the planet that should be dispensing marriage advice. That's for sure. My wife can.
Fantastic.
My wife can fully attest to that. But I think the most important thing, I guess, is just to have respect for each other. That would probably be el numero uno. That I guess that's the best. I did not expect it to go here. That's probably the best I can do in the advice department.
I just thought I'd ask.
Okay.
You know, wanted a little help on that front. You know, I think I'm okay at marriage, but I could always get better.
That's the story of. That's how it. Yeah. That's another thing. You can always be better for each other.
You can always be better.
So.
What is your wife? Does your wife have a vocation, career?
She's a mama.
She's a mom?
Yep.
Which is a valid career and she vocation,
always wanted to be. So that I'm glad.
Wow, that's great.
Yes, it really is. It's actually amazing. It really is. It that is a huge it's a huge, I don't know what you want to call it. It's just really awesome. End of the story.
End of story. Fantastic. It's a great place for an interview to go. End of story. That's all I got to say about that.
Pretty much.
Well, that's great. What's your wife's name? I don't know her name.
Oh, her name's Lynn.
Lynn.
Yes.
True story. That is my dad's middle name.
Interesting. There's lots of Lynns. I've seen male and female, and it's like, It's one of those names that to me that just it can go either way, and it's totally fine.
Yeah.
Kind of like Jesse. Like it can be fine either way.
Jesse could mean a guy named Jesse, or could be the lady cowboy from Toy Story.
Exactly.
Could be. I'm having trouble coming up with a third, but it could be anything else.
It could be a guy cowboy who robs trains.
Well, I don't want to get too specific over here. What? So it can be a guy cowboy, but he has to rob trains.
Well,
like
I guess he doesn't have to rob trains. He could be Uncle Jesse from Dukes of Hazzard. I guess he could be that guy.
Or, I mean, you just skipped over Uncle Jesse from Full House. I don't know how you managed that.
Well, no, I didn't skip. I was going in chronological order here. We start with Jesse James, and in the order of important Jessies, I think it goes, Jesse James, and we got Uncle Jesse, and then we got Uncle Jesse.
For a minute, I thought you were gonna talk shade on Uncle Jesse from Full House, and I was gonna brandish my fists at you.
Never. I would never ever have anything bad to say about John Stamos. Guys, he's
good.
He's a beautiful man.
He is. Well, yes. Gorgeous, in fact. Too good looking to live, some would argue.
That's what my dummy would say.
Here nor there. What'd you say?
That's what my dummy would say.
Oh, please don't bring your dummy up again, dude. Oh, I can't even. I'm having terror-filled visions. Especially the Goosebumps movie had to center itself around the dummy, and that was especially difficult for me. As much as I like Jack Black, the dummy was a little out there.
He was creepy. Yeah, he was gonna get Mike.
Super creepy. Well, let's come a little bit forward in your life.
Okay.
So or backward. We can go either way. This is a little loosey-goosey. I apologize. I wanted this to be hard-hitting, and I feel like I'm not hitting hard.
Oh, don't hit me too hard. I'm a softie.
That was a very good joke. That was humorous. Oh,
for all those that weren't aware, I was attempting humor.
Oh golly, that right in the funny bone. Tickled me something fierce. So we found out who you think you are. I wanted to ask you, because your podcast is called The Tone Mob. What does tone even mean? That word has no meaning to me. Can you please help me?
Good point. I mean, this has been addressed in other things before, where it really should be sounds instead of tone, because that's what we're really doing. We're not creating tone; we're creating sounds. But I think it's
Well,
just
it can't be called a Sound Mob podcast.
no. That would
right?
just
that
would sound dumb. I mean, some might argue that the whole mob aspect is dumb, but it was something I came up with that I thought was cool. So whatever. I like gangster movies. Leave me alone.
You're not looking to incite a riot of guitar aficionado, are you?
No, I don't know about that. Wait, are we talking
don't
about the
think so?
magazine?
Oh, that's right. There's a magazine called that.
Yeah, and it's a little weird. It's like, here's a $14 billion guitar. Look at it.
Yeah, and then humidors that also cost that much.
Mm-hmm.
I
don't
know.
I don't know. It's kind of
Like
cool,
I don't mean to disparage anybody, but I do not get that magazine at all. I don't understand it one bit.
I haven't really looked at it enough to know. I've just thumbed through it at an airport on occasion.
Exactly. That's the only place I've ever seen that for sale. Is the airport.
Oh, good point. That is the only place I've ever seen it for sale.
Yeah. Weird.
That is
There's something
super
worth
weird.
investigating here.
Okay. Anyway, I forgot. What the question was, what does tone mean? I think
Yeah, what
I
is
think it's
tone?
really just become part of the vernacular of the gear world to just, and we all
Mhm.
kind of know instinctively what that means. Like, man, that guy's got good tone. Like, we know what that means. It means his guitar sounds really good. I think it's just more of it's almost kind of taking the word tone and kind of like slanging it a little bit. Maybe that's not
Mhm.
accurate, but that's kind of how I view it. And I like saying the word tone. It's a nice sounding word.
Now, I kind of view the word as a catch-all these days. I don't think that the word actually has a definable characteristic or an identifiable set of rules, which is good. But at the same time, it kind of makes for murky waters when you're discussing the somewhat silly concept of good tone. Like, when you think of good tone, when you think of like a compelling guitar sound, what is it that comes to mind? Like, what does that mean to you? Because it means something different to everybody.
Are you looking for like specific examples, or more just like what I do with it, or what are you thinking?
Specific examples are great, but I do want to know what you would do. I don't know.
Yeah.
Tell me.
So for specific examples is like, so I've kind of talked about this quite a bit lately, even on the last episode. But like I've always really liked Social Distortion's guitar sound, as far as like just straight up
Nice.
rock and roll guitar tone, and so that was always one that I really liked. I also, as you kind of remember, I kind of came up in that early 2000s kind of hardcore metalcore revival, and
Mhm.
while I wouldn't say that I just super admire any of those bands' actual tone per se, these days anyway, it did kind of set me down the path of like, how are they getting their guitars to sound so mean? Like, why can't I get my guitar to sound mean like that? So that kind of led that process a little bit, because I knew nothing about it. Like, when I first learned guitar, I was just like, okay, here's how you play. I learned how to play like Smells Like Teen Spirit on an acoustic guitar. Obviously it didn't sound right to me. I was like, why doesn't it sound like his sound? Well, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know what a signal chain was. I didn't know that, oh, you need an amp that's distorting. I mean, I asked some really dumb questions at times. I did not just wake up one day and go, ooh, this is how it all works. So like kind of like the punk and alternative bands, I just wanted to know how they were getting their sounds, and it wasn't until later that I figured out what they were actually doing. So yeah, Social D is the most prominent example. Thrice didn't have the greatest tone early on, but like obviously now and a few albums back, they started getting some really interesting sounds, and of course I wanted to know how they were doing that too. And then I really like I also really like the country guitar, like traditional country guitar, because I kind of grew up with that.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, it was always like, what's that sound? And how come I don't sound like that? That was kind of the anchoring point. Like, I don't sound anything like that. Well, that's because you're playing a Les Paul and they're playing a Telecaster, first of all.
Mm.
So that would probably be a few examples. It's more of just, for me, it's usually like I hear something and then I try to figure out how to replicate it best I can. And then, like with the band, we'll come up with a song, and then I go, okay, how am I going to fit into this mix? Or, okay, you're doing that, I guess I will do this. It may not even sound that good by itself, but it kind of fits in with the rest of the band. That's always how I try to approach from a creation standpoint. Like, is it working with the song? Whatever sound I'm making.
And that's the most important part of the procedure. Some of my favorite recorded sounds are probably not great on their own. Like you mentioned, it's how it fits with everything else going on that really makes a tone viable and worthy. I wanted to ask you, this may be a difficult question. If you could boil it down to one part of your chain, one part of what you do, because I think you're a very good guitar player. I have your record. I love it. I think you're killing it, and all the sounds on that record are super appropriate for what you're doing. Like, they are great sounds. When you look at your sound, what is it that you look to? Like, what's the most important element?
Okay.
It could be a guitar or a pedal or a cable or I don't know, whatever.
Okay.
But what do you think is the single most important piece of your signal chain?
Well, I should preface all this by saying that the things that are actually like maybe somewhat more technical guitar on that album was probably not me. I had one solo and a few small like little lead parts, but I kind of feel like I'm not sure what my place in the band is. I mean, there's Jess. I believe you met him. He's kind of our point man for leads for the most part. Leon, who you have his pedal.
Oh yes.
He is very much. He plays much more interesting chords than I do. I'm just like very straight ahead with my chords. He'll kind of play different inversions and kind of weird things. I think I'm probably the guy that I probably do more texture and more like in your face power chord action. That's probably what I do. It's more direct when I'm playing. I'm not quite so subtle or skilled.
Well, don't think I can't pick that out. I mean, I grew up playing punk back in the day, so I know who the fifth chords are coming from. That's for sure.
Yeah. So as far as like if we're talking a specific, so we changed guitars like constantly. Like I'm like, okay, you're playing a Telecaster, that means I'm gonna play the Les Paul. Oh, you're gonna play and vice versa. Like, what do you think you're gonna play on that song? I'm gonna play this with these pedals and this amp. That was very conscious on the guitar recording side of being different than the other guy. And so my guitars are different on pretty much every song. I would say the one defining characteristic for me on that album was I mostly use my Benson Monarch, and I think as much as I love guitars and in all their glory, I really do think that if you can only spend your money on one place, having a good solid amp is the most important thing. That's my general consensus. Because if you have a amazing guitar plugged into a amp, it's gonna sound eh. If you have a okay guitar and an amazing amp, it's probably gonna sound pretty good. So, I try to have a solid amp. It doesn't, and that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be expensive. You just need a good sounding amp, and I think that's the base of your sound.
Sure. I've always appreciated musicians that think about their gear choices the way that you just described in the studio. I remember reading an interview with Mike Campbell back had to be the late 90s, where someone was asking about the Heartbreakers recording techniques, and he said as much as you did, where if if Tom Petty were playing a bright guitar into a dark amp, he would always go the opposite direction. He'd play a dark guitar into a bright amp. He would play like a Gibson Les Paul into like a super tiny Fender like Tweed Champ or something that's going to accentuate those high notes. So I really appreciate when people put that kind of thought in, because so many records can just get boring if you're not changing guitars, if you're not thinking about the sonic spectrum the way that you just described. You run a high chance of making your record feel samey and making everything feel like the same song, just repeated 9 times. So, was that always a thing that you did, or was that a relatively recent?
Well, that was the most we've done recording in the past, but that really was my first, like, okay, we're gonna make a real record, like that we actually really worked hard on and practice for as much as we could. I wish we could play more often, but we just don't get the opportunity. But we worked on it solidly for quite a while, and it was a very conscious effort. Like, we all took off work to go in the studio for 5 days and record it, and we had a set date, and we're like, we gotta have our songs done. So it was the first actual serious attempt, and there again, it wasn't really for any other reason than for us to be able to have a record that we were happy with. We're not touring with it or anything like that. It's just there for people to listen to if they would like to. But it was I would say an honest first like serious go around at the whole process. So no, to answer the question, no, I never did really think about it that way before. But it was also probably the first time of recording where, because I have done several recording projects, but it's the first time of recording where I really kind of understood the building blocks of trying to create a sound with guitar, in a solidly grasped way. So yeah, it's we'd actually do something kind of interesting where, because we're all gearheads and tone hounds, at least all the guitar players, we would actually sometimes set up each other's rigs. We'd be like, okay, come on in here. I need a tone consultation. How's this sound? And like the other guy would get down and swap pedals in and out, or adjust the settings on the pedals while the other guy played until it fit more what the other guy thought it should sound like, rather than the guy playing the guitar himself. We did that quite a lot, actually.
That's very interesting. Handing off the reins to someone else.
Yeah, it was like, okay, you're playing that guitar, that amp. Maybe we want to try this pedal in here instead. And we're going to, let me tweak on it for a little bit while you play the riff. And we didn't do that on purpose at first. We just, maybe somebody, I don't remember who the first person was to do it, but like somebody was like, this isn't quite jiving the way I want it to. Come in here and tell me what you think. And then it became something that we did on many of the tracks. It's really fun, actually, to tweak somebody else's guitar tone.
That's genius. That's absolutely genius. I'm sure that opens up a lot of doors that you wouldn't have opened on your own, or ideas that you just would never have come up with, or settings you would probably avoid generally that all of a sudden worked because someone else tweaked the knobs for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is there, switching gears a little bit, is there a piece of gear that you just don't get?
A piece of gear that I don't
understand the appeal of?
Yeah, there's a few things that kind of tick that box for me. I don't really get, I shouldn't say I don't get it, it's just not for me. I don't really dig quote unquote metal guitars, and I don't mean aluminum guitars. I think aluminum guitars are cool, but the traditional pointy guitar has limited appeal to me beyond being kind of ironic. And this sounds so hipster and stupid of me. I can't even believe it. But it just it seems to be like you need this to play this music. And I've found that I can get very quote unquote brutal and metal tones out of very unmetal setups. So I just don't get those. And that people make them work. Like, I'm not saying, there's lots of guys that have really good sounds that kind of play traditional metal rigs. I like this hardcore band, Cancer Bats, and
oh yeah,
they have great full, thick, sustainy, guitar sounds. And last time I looked at their rig, which was several years ago, it was very classic, EMGs into a diesel or something. It may have changed, but that's what I remember seeing now. And that's just not my jam, but I think they sound great. I also think you can get similar, or even, in my estimation, somewhat better sounds using more passive pickups. I think passive pickups just they work better dynamically for me. I understand there again. I understand the appeal. It's just, in my opinion, I don't need them to get super brutal if I want to.
So you prefer to take a less beaten path when it comes to finding those sounds.
Not all the time. I mean, I think if you're gonna play some sweet country licks, you kind of need a telly.
Sure.
But for heavy music, yeah, I kind of like, for heavy music, I like playing my Rickenbacker 360.
Whoa, that's cool.
Yeah, it just sounds right to me. It sounds better. Like, I think it sounds okay clean. And maybe there's something wrong with my guitar. I don't know, but I think it sounds okay clean. But it sounds great with a ton of fuzz and a ton of distortion.
Wow, I think we need a video of you covering Thunder Horse with that guitar. I think a lot of people are going to have trouble believing you getting brutal tones out of your Rick, but I, for one, love having my preconceived notions challenged.
All right, I'll give it a try. I don't know if I can play that song exactly, but I can at least.
Oh well, we'll pick something heavy. Go for it.
All right, I can do that. Actually,
show us what you're made of.
There's probably some clips floating around, somewhere, of where I'm not really showing what guitar I'm playing. But there's just a ton of fuzz, and there's a good chance, if it's like super fuzzy and dirty, that there's a good chance I'm playing my Rickenbacker.
Wow, man. That's really fun. I always respect people that try to make cool sounds with non-standard gear. That's really fun.
And that was an accident. That wasn't on purpose. I got the Ricky and I really liked it, and then I found out the more dirt I poured on it, the better I liked it.
That's very interesting. I love that. Love that. You're going somewhere that a lot of Rick people don't go. That's really exciting. Kudos to you.
Oh, thank you.
You've earned my admiration. Finally. After all this time.
Man, it took so long. But yes.
Yeah, well, I'm a stickler. I'm a stickler for performance. And you finally nailed it, buddy.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, you're welcome. So you created this podcast. You have worked on various recording projects. You started playing guitar when you were 12. You had radio shows when you were a kid. And all of this, have you ever questioned what it is you're doing, or have you ever had a moment where you're like, why, what am I doing? What am I doing here? What is all this?
I think that's what we do as people, right?
Yeah.
We're like, what am I doing? I think that's just a person thing. Maybe not. Maybe maybe there's a listener out there right now going, no, I'm supremely self-confident in every move that I make. But I think I
did not know that Trump is listening to your podcast. Well done.
Oh, geez.
I'm sorry, I got political.
I will not go there.
Sure.
I will not go there. I will not go there. I will not go there. Anyway. Oh, don't say what I want to say. Anyway, okay, stop it.
Wow, self-restraint too.
But yeah, I just think that that's what most people do. They, you don't just question every move you make. Like, if you got to turn left to go to the local burger place because it's over there, you're not going to question whether or not you have to turn left. But as a whole, I think it's probably healthy to sit back and go,
Hmm.
maybe that wasn't the right move. I think it's always a good thing to take a few steps back and kind of just like really check out what you're up to and make sure it's congruent with what you feel you should be doing. So,
Well, what is your goal?
with the whole project type of thing.
Yeah. What's your aim here?
Well, now that
And how do you measure that against these struggles, against success, definable success? What do you call your end game here?
I don't know if there is an end game per se. I would like to be able to somehow morph this into a project that I work on every day and am able to, kind of support myself and my family off of. I have some ideas of how that may take place, and if it doesn't, it's okay. It's still, the rewards have been really nice from it, just from like getting to meet cool people and hear their stories. And then the best thing is when somebody will email and be like, you know what, thanks for doing this. It really helps break up the monotony of my day. And I'm like, that's like the best reward that anybody can hope for. But as far as an end game, I just kind of like to expand the community, bring more cool people in, and no dumb people. We don't want any losers coming in here.
You're telling me losers go home?
Yeah,
right?
Losers get out of here. But all you people listening are clearly not losers.
And nerds too.
No, we're nerds. We need all the nerds we can get.
We absolutely are.
But I think it keep on trucking, because it's taken many an interesting turn that I didn't see coming. I would say that the big end goal is to try to be able to, whether it's via Tone Mob or via some other avenue that presents itself, to be able to do stuff in the gear world full time. So I shouldn't say like, I don't want to just like build this up into something and then sell it to Podcast One or whatever. That's not the goal. I want it just to continue its natural progression and kind of see what happens as we go along. But I would like to work in the gear world full time at some point.
Well, you mentioned expand the community. What's your vision for that?
Well,
how would you expand the community of Tone Knob?
I think that what I'm doing seems to be working. There's people joining the mailing list every day. There's people joining the Facebook group, following on Instagram. Every couple months, it seems to take a pretty good pop up in downloads. So I think it's just, I mean, if you're listening to this, you're involved in it, in the community. It's, I want to talk back and forth. I don't want to be some sort of weird mastermind behind the curtain of things. I just want, everybody to get whatever they need out of this project. Whatever I can do to like help people get the sound they're trying to chase, or just make their workday less monotonous or whatever. I just want it to be a source of something that makes people happy.
Yeah.
And the more people
especially
that can
with
derive
so many
enjoyment from it on some level, then the better.
Exactly. There's so many reasons to not have fun these days. It seems like every day, you can barely look anywhere without having something in your face that is just the worst subsection of humanity doing something, or another news story of encounters gone wrong, things like that. So yeah, it's I've really come to admire people who are making it their goal to put something, if not even wholly positive, something entertaining, something funny, something that can distract for a split second amidst all of the chaos of everyday life. So I think that's a noble goal. I think you're doing it. I think you're accomplishing that. Mission accomplished. Well done. In all this time, the nearly 50 episodes that you've done, what has surprised you?
I have been surprised by a couple things. Sometimes like people's response to things, like just to being interviewed. I point to this episode all the time because this was probably the first time where I was like, whoa, I didn't expect it to go here exactly. But the episode I did with Robert Keeley, which was fairly early on, I don't remember, in the teens somewhere, I believe.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of, in an indirect, I asked him a question about something about the company, and he said, well, that was right around the time where I was addicted to prescription pills. And I was like, oh, you talked about that like on our phone call, but I didn't know we were going to actually talk about it. So we touched on that, and that was the first time that I was like, oh, this went somewhere I wasn't expecting. So that was a surprise. And then just, I'm always surprised when I get an email or a message or something that is just like, thank you for doing this. I'm like, well, that makes me, because there's times where it's tough and it's like, oh, I don't want to edit this episode today. Like, I would really rather not do this right now. I mean, I don't, editing is kind of, as you know, can be kind of a bummer if you're not like super into it, and I'm not. So at times that's a challenge, but then if I get an email or something like that, it's like, must continue. Like, time to do the thing. Time to do the somewhat not fun part so that I can continue doing all the other fun stuff that's involved with it. Which is, for me, talking to people about gear. That is very fun. On the podcast or in other avenues, too.
Are you aware of the how do I want to put this? Are you aware of the slice of humanity that you get to interact with? Are you aware that you're cutting past, in some ways, you're cutting past the business or the product, the brand, all of this stuff, and you're making a beeline directly for the people you're interviewing. And when you mention something so human and so raw as what Robert Keeley shared with you, how do you react to that? What do you do with that? I mean, you mentioned that you were taken aback by it. Do you embrace that? Is your instinct to run away from it because humans are messy, or what is it? What happens in that moment? What do you say to yourself?
No, and I mean, not at all. I want to, like, if somebody's wanting to share something like that, then I kind of want to know more. If they're trying to avoid it, I feel like I pick up on that too. Like, if they want to, we want to talk about the pedals, like, that's okay too. I don't want them to feel uncomfortable or pursued or anything. But if somebody's going to bring that up when you didn't directly ask them about it, then they clearly want to talk about it a little bit. And I wasn't going to go like, how many pills a day were you popping raw? Not like that, but like, it was kind of like, well, how did that affect your company? And how did that affect this? Did people know about it? People are messy, and I know that because I am a messy person in like more ways than one. Like, my desk is a disaster, and also I'm a dude, and everyone walking around is just a person, regardless of if they kind of appear to be on some sort of pedestal. They are a person, and they have cool things and flaws, and everyone has these. And the more you realize that everyone is just a person, the easier it is to just talk to people and just let them be themselves. Because everyone is a person. How many times in a row can I say that in one sentence? Everyone is a person.
At least 3 more.
Everyone's a person.
Before I slam the phone down.
Everyone's
and
a
walk away.
person.
That's one.
Okay, I'm done.
In your opinion, where has the Tone Mob absolutely succeeded? Where has your greatest triumph been in this whole Tone Mob thing, this experiment, this pursuit?
I think the most like satisfying thing is going back to like getting feedback from people who are like, this is awesome, please keep doing this. Like that is probably the most like heartwarming, rewarding thing. The other thing that I really like doing that I had no idea I was going to get the opportunity to do, and I absolutely love this part, is helping some of these companies with like business and marketing problems. I had no idea that was a strength or a skill of mine until I started this. And then as it's rolled, it's just like, people will be talking about a problem that they're having. And it's just like, oh, no, you should try this or that. Or no, you definitely don't want to do that. Do this. Or my opinion is it should look like that. It's like working, I get to work with people and help them make their companies a little more successful in some ways, and that is super, super fun. I love doing that.
On that same token, where has the Tome Mob failed?
Ooh, where's it failed?
Yeah.
I thought that so there's a lot of people that listen to guitar podcasts, but not as many as you would think. We all of us guitar podcasters talk to each other much in the same way that, or most of us, especially the gear focused ones, we talk to each other and we have a rough idea of what each other's numbers are, and they're all really close. So I think, I look at in some ways I'm like, okay, well, I got like, this many thousand followers is over here and this many over here. And clearly they're not all listening to the podcast. I wish I could somehow, if it's not their thing, it's not their thing. I feels like the percentage of gear nerds who actually listen to a podcast is rather small in comparison to how the gear nerds who like to absorb other forms of media. And so I don't think I would say I've failed at it, but I haven't succeeded in, and I'm talking about not just for my show, but for all of our gear focused shows. I'd really like it to just get a bump in the audience across the board, because I think it's a really, obviously I'm biased, but it's a really valuable and interesting form of media. And if more guitar players knew about it, it would probably be better for everyone involved. So that's probably the biggest one. Is the listener base is pretty good size, but it's not to where I think it could be, based on some other niches that have podcasts with many more listeners. So that's kind of my initial thought anyway.
That's good. It's good, man. Let me ask you this. Let me throw this hot take out at you. What would you like to see change in the gear world?
That's funny that you said that, because that is one of the things I would like to see change. is to get more gearaholics listening to the gear podcasts. That would be something, and that's very selfish of me, but that's something I would like to see change, because it's kind of, it can be a little bit like when you think about like, that guy's got a ton of YouTube views, then it takes more involvement. Maybe I'm wrong, because I don't watch a lot of YouTube. I do watch demos and things, obviously, but I usually go to YouTube with a purpose, and it's either to watch a specific thing, a pedal demo or whatever it may be, or to learn a specific thing. So it's like, I need to know how to tie a slip knot or something, and I go click, okay, there it is, I now know, and then I hop off. So I realize I may be a little bit weird in that. Some people will just spend hours on YouTube, but I just see some things where it's like, they've got thousands and thousands of views. Why can't I get thousands and thousands of downloads? Not just me specifically, but we all share this frustration to some degree.
Sure.
So I would like to see more gearheads listening to podcasts. That would be my selfish goal.
You mentioned that you watch demos. Do you honestly get a lot out of them?
Depends. It depends on the demo. Some guys I really do. I really like Jay Leonard Jay's demos, because he's an entertaining person, and because I like watching him play. And then I feel like he does a good job of describing things. A lot of guys do. It can be difficult to. I will say this: if I see Just Nick do a demo, he's a much better player than me. But if I like sit down and watch one of his demos, I feel like I pretty much know if I'm gonna like that pedal or not for 99% sure, because he just goes through everything. And some people are like, "Oh, his demos are so long." I said, "Yeah, but I know for a fact whether I'm gonna like a pedal or not based on his demo." And sometimes I'm like, "No, that's not for me. I don't need to buy it now. That's good."
Do you feel like there's such a thing as too much playing in a demo?
Too much playing?
Yeah.
It depends on the pedal. It can be, if it's a super complicated pedal with many, many different sounds in it, then you want to hear them all, then it's hard to do it too much. But if it's, if it's a 3-knob overdrive that only has, a certain amount of sounds, then yeah, you could definitely cut down the length.
Well, I know I often feel like there's too much talking in some videos, but what I'm really getting at is the temptation that a lot of demo people can't seem to resist is to play just 1,000 notes all at a time, and I never end up feeling like I can hear what the pedal's actually doing, or when they just start right away with the pedal on, for instance, and you can't compare what the clean sound is like without the effect, that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, I think that just comes down to, following the demo guys that you like. Sometimes they just don't. The guy you like may not have that demo up, but there's probably certain ones that you like better than others, and I don't know. I feel like any of the guys that are really good, pretty much they pretty much get the point across for me. It may not work for everybody, but the guys that I like, I know what that pedal sounds like. So, yeah. And there's several. There's lots of demo guys I like. Obviously we all came up on, it sounds kind of funny. We all came up listening to Andy Martin play, on the PGS demos, and it's just kind of went from there. But there's a lot of guys doing good work, and then there's some guys who just point their cell phone at the thing and call it a day, and I don't really care for that. So anyway, I don't know if I answered that question or not, or if I just said a whole bunch of random thoughts.
No, you're all good. You'll edit it later. It'll make your sound good. It's fine. Let's backpedal just a little bit, and I don't want to keep you for the entire evening, but I'm having a grand old time listening to you just articulate the innermost parts of your spirit. That has been lovely.
Whoa, I didn't even look at the timer. I didn't realize how long it's been.
Oh, yeah, it's been forever.
Wow, we're way over the time. I wonder how many people are still listening to this random nonsense that I'm spewing.
You could edit out that 20 plus minutes that you spent talking about Master and Commander. That would be great.
But I love that show. I love that movie. It's so good. The depth and the way they filmed it. Okay, I won't get into it again. I'll stop.
Russell, though. Russell.
What a hunk.
He's a total chunk of boy. Oh, that man. Oh, you ever heard his band?
No, I haven't. I knew he had one, but I've never listened to him.
30 Odd Foot of Grunts?
No, but I like that name. I forgot that's what it was called.
Yeah, I didn't. Etched into my memory. Can't forget.
30 Odd Foot of Grunts. That sounds like it's some sort of like, is it like, what's he doing, like a crust punk thing?
Who, what?
Russell Crowe. Yeah, that's what that.
No,
that's
it's like funky folk, bluesish rock, something.
Yeah, I'll investigate later.
There's acoustic guitars and ballads.
Does anybody say hey?
Was that? Oh no! I think he came before the whole hey ho craze.
Oh, okay.
Started. Not that I have his record or anything, but I don't think you're going to hear a lot of heys and hoes, at least in the style of the day, like you will from so many of our artists. there.
Hey.
Um,
Oh.
Blake, let me ask you this. Let me throw this one out there.
Okay, I'm ready.
When's the last time you had a really good laugh?
Oh.
When's the last time?
I laugh a
man?
lot. I laugh a lot.
Yeah, but no, like a laugh, like a real good, hard laugh. When is the last one of those?
It's probably whenever my wife, it was probably like a day or two ago, she sent me a video of my son making some really funny sounds. And I had a deep belly laugh. As cheesy dad, cheesy dad of me that is, that seriously, I watched on repeat like 4 or 5 times. He was like popping a wheelie on his little Batman, like, I don't know what you call these things, like a little roll around like thing they sit on, and he was like popping wheelies and going blah, and it was hilarious to me. No one but a father would find that hilarious, but I found it hilarious. So that was probably the last time.
Do you have any controversial opinions? Do you have any opinions that you think people might be surprised to hear, that might rub someone the wrong way? Do you have an opinion that's like, and I'm not talking anything like seriously out there. I don't know if you believe in I don't know.
I think Donald Trump's hair isn't even real. It's an illusion.
It isn't? That's controversial.
I want to see a birth certificate on his hair.
Do you think Rob Thomas was better without Matchbox 20?
Let me tell you a little something about Rob Thomas. Let me tell you.
Oh, geez.
A few. This is the glory of the internet. A few weeks. Oh, it was about a little over 2 months ago at this point. I'd stumbled across a glorious photo of a sweatshirt on a man, or a T-shirt rather, and it said, I wonder if I can quote this directly. I'd rather be listening to the Grammy Award-winning song Smooth by Santana featuring Rob Thomas of Matchbox 20. And I sent the picture to my wife, who promptly was able to Google search and find where to purchase said shirt. And so I'm the proud owner of a gray crew neck sweatshirt that reads that exact same thing.
No, you beautiful, magnificent human being. I'm 100% jealous.
It's
like 2 months ago, I woke up on a Wednesday morning and that song was absolutely stuck in my head.
Yes.
Like a splinter of my brain, and I could not get it out. I actually had to sit down
and listen to it.
I had to listen to that song 9 times the whole way through for it to even begin to leave my consciousness. I nearly lost it.
Oh, I understand.
That was horrible. Oh man, and it's not necessarily a bad song, but it's just
so bubblegum.
If you have the phrase "Give me your heart, make it real," or else forget about it over and over in your head, you are going to go mad.
Oh, I agree. It was a thing. Like, did you talk about that on the internet anywhere? Because it seems like I seen that first, and then I had to do the same thing, or maybe. I know when I seen the sweatshirt.
I think I posted a video of myself crying, I think is what happened.
Okay,
because I was beside myself. I did a lot of stuff that I wouldn't normally do. I signed up for magazines that girls were selling from down the street. I went down to 7-Eleven and I said, those hot dogs that have been on that spittoon or spit roller for ages look delicious. I'll have 5 of those. I was a man without purpose and a man driven to madness by the musical stylings of Rob Thomas and Carlos Santana.
I can understand.
It was a heck of a day.
I got a good photo to send you of me wearing that sweatshirt. I'll send it to you later.
You just text me photos of you at all times. That's fine with me.
Anyway,
but back to the controversial opinion. Like, do you have anything in your life that you? Well, let me give you an example. Let me give you an example, and then you'll feel safer to come out of your shell. How about this?
Okay, I'm ready.
I'm looking at my bookshelf right now, and I see J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And I do not like that book nearly as much as I like the movie. I really don't, which I know is super controversial, and internet will run wild with that information. I'll be ostracized from my community. I know it, and I'm okay with it because I just didn't care for that book.
That's fascinating. What is it that you don't like about that book? I think
Mainly
I know.
Tom Bombadil.
Oh, okay.
Mainly.
All right. I can't say that
I hate that guy.
Yeah, Tom Bombadil's a little bit annoying. I will give you that.
Goldberry's waiting. Oh, that's what he sounds like in my head.
And you could be exactly 100% right. I don't have any information to say that that's not what he sounds like.
That could be, but I don't know, man. I feel like Peter Jackson and company streamlined a bit of that book. And hey, I like long books.
Mhm.
East of Eden is one of my favorite books ever.
Okay.
You know, I went to school for theology originally, so I had to read quite a few very long, very old books many times through. So I'm no stranger to a long book, but I don't know, man. I don't know. So that's my controversial opinion.
Okay.
I hope that I haven't lost any favor in your eyes, but
No.
I'm about being real and vulnerable with you right here,
Right.
on this publicly broadcast piece of media. So.
Well, I won't. I guess in that same vein, I hope I don't lose any favor with you, sir. On this.
Oh no.
This is a controversial opinion. And I used to be more.
Babies are overrated. Ooh, Blake, I didn't expect to hear that from you.
No, actually, I found out that I quite like babies.
That's pretty cool, man. I'm so jealous.
Anyway, I didn't know that I liked babies as much as I do. Babies are awesome. I have to. This is gonna rub people the wrong way, and I have to fully flesh out my opinion because it's somewhat multifaceted. I can appreciate and understand the significance of the Beatles. But I must say that they're not one of my favorites to sit down and listen to. I used to.
You don't really like the Beatles,
not
is what you're saying.
Not especially. They're not somebody I'm just jonesing to listen to some Beatles right now. And when I try to sit down and really go through it, I kind of feel like I'm working a little bit. I need to like this. I should and must like this. It's not just doing it for me. And some of my favorite bands are absolutely inspired by the Beatles, or probably most of them. I mean, they're extremely important. I can't buckle down. Now back in my punk rocker days, when I was a punk rocker, I was like, the Beatles, they're overrated. Well, at that point, I hadn't even really gave them a fair shake to know what I was even talking about. I was just trying to be a punk rocker and be cool. And I was really just being a moron.
Yeah, raging against the system.
Yeah,
the oppressive weight of 1960s pop. I get it.
Exactly.
I hear it, man.
Exactly. But then I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna have an opinion on something, I should really actually have a real opinion on it, not just one based on the hits. If that makes any sense. And so I dug in and I was like, okay, all right, this makes sense. I get it now. That said, one of my favorite songs to jam with the band, Helter Skelter. So,
are you? If you were to say I like Beatles, would it be early or late term?
There's gems I think in the whole category.
If you were forced to wake up one morning being absolutely bombarded by a song, Rob Thomas style for me, a la Smooth, which Beatles song would you want to be subjected to upon waking up? What do you think you would be able to stomach?
It's a tough choice. It's either going to be Helter Skelter or in a completely different vein, and this might throw people for a loop, is Eleanor Rigby.
Eleanor Rigby is a tight song, bro.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a good song. So that would be one of those two. Helter Skelter is one of
Actually, I
my
feel
favorite
like-
songs to play, though. I love playing that song. We also rock it like super hard, like super
I'm sure you
super
do.
hard, like way more aggressively than what it should be.
Well, you guys are a bunch of tough rock boys. I believe that. I believe it.
So tough. Yeah, we're so
It's
tough.
so tough.
Yeah,
So tough.
I'm so tough. Ouch, that hurt. Yeah, that I love that song. So I guess as far as controversy, yeah, that'd probably be that especially fits in with the musical, kind of landscape of this podcast. Yeah, I'm not a giant Beatles fan. That would be it.
Wow.
Yep.
Does not care for the Beatles.
Yeah,
Super ultra mega controversial.
it is. I'm wondering how
rioting
many.
in the streets.
Yeah.
Cars being firebombed. Doors locked.
Oh no.
I don't know.
That said,
It's gonna happen when this comes out.
man, if I could play I will say though, if I could like sit down with Sir Paul and write a tune, that would be a dream come true. So
I bet he would write a tune in like 2 minutes.
I know,
It would be such a quick meeting.
I know.
Oh, Rod, come on in. Ring-a-doo. You're like, hi, I'm Black. Oh, good to meet you. Here's a song about you. And then you would... I don't know.
There once was
That's
a
it.
man with
You
a
get ushered
podcast.
into a room and then quickly ushered out after he sang about you.
Yeah, he would be like, he doesn't really like my band, but he wants to meet me anyway.
Oh, he thinks he's got great taste in music, eh? Well, listen to this. And you're like, no, I still don't really care for that, Sir Paul. I'm sorry.
Well,
he's more of an up-tempo kind of guy. Okay, listen to this. Whoa. And then you're like, no, it's still not my cup of tea. I just don't like the sum total of your creative output, sir. Well, it makes me kind of sad. I don't know what's... I don't know. I'm losing my mind.
Oh, that was hilarious. One more note on Sir Paul. One of my favorite things I've ever seen was the Dave Grohl Sound City documentary.
Oh, yeah.
Love that movie. And one of the coolest parts of that is when, he's writing. First of all, that song they did together was absolutely jammed. So there's that.
Mhm.
But when they're all in there jamming together, and they're like, man, I wish it could always be this easy. And he's like, it is.
Wow.
Like, okay, if you're Paul McCartney, it is always that easy, I guess.
What are you doing wrong?
Mm-hmm. Like, it is always this easy. You guys are losers. What's a Foo Fighter anyway? So
That's a question for another podcast.
I actually know the answer to that, but I'm sure you do too.
Yes, I do actually. Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Ooh, it's the oh my gosh, the unidentified flying
Mhm.
object
Yep.
thing.
Yep. The pilots
man.
would refer to the UFOs as Foo Fighters.
Oh, that's right. That's
Mhm.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why
Wow.
they came up with that term, but I know that that's where it came from. And now we have Dave Grohl and his wonderful band.
I think I heard Dave talk about that in an interview back in the 90s, and I haven't thought of it since.
Well, I actually learned about that before I even listened to the Foo Fighters. I was probably like 10 years old, reading through these I read a lot of like I said, like horror fiction. I actually belonged to this subscription book club that Scholastic put on for quite a while.
Oh,
It was like $12 a month or something, and
Scholastic books were the best.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was called the let me think about this. It was called the Thrills and Chills Club, and it was for like young kids and like preteens basically, and for like $9 or $12 a month, something like that. Which I like mowed lawns to get because I loved this club so much. They would send you like 3 or 4 books, and then like this magazine, and it was all centered around spooky stuff. and I just
Ooh.
loved it. And then one of the series they had was like exploring like kind of like modern day supernatural mystery type things like UFOs and Sasquatch and the Bermuda Triangle and things like that. And they would have this little, probably like 60-page book, and one of them was all about UFOs, and that's where I first heard the term Foo Fighter. So I knew what Dave was talking about the first time I heard the band.
Do you think Dave got it from a Scholastic book? Do you think Dave was a member of the Scholastic Book Club?
Well, no, he's much older than I am, so I'm sure he heard about it from some other source.
Well, but his money spends just like yours.
That's just like my 9-year-old self.
Yeah.
That's true.
He could be... Was there an age range? Was there a limit?
No, I think anybody could get it, but it was like done through, they'd have the book fairs at school.
Yeah, you just hang out at a school. No big deal.
It's this long-haired guy hanging out at school. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe he did read the same book. I'm guessing he read a different book because this was like, I don't know. I don't know what kind of books Dave reads. Maybe I should get him on the podcast and ask him.
Well, yeah, good luck with that. I hope that works out. And I'm sure that he would love to spring for an interview with you.
He seems like a nice guy. I bet he would.
He sure does. And then you can finally put to rest this whole Scholastic Book Club thing. Because I mean, even if it's not true, I'm substituting my own reality in this case. Because the idea of Dave Grohl, of Nirvana, of Foo Fighters, of a myriad of other projects, subscribes to the Scholastic Book Club. If I could go to his house and see on the spines of each book that little red tag.
Yep.
Oh, my life would be so complete.
Yeah. I'll put this out there. I would bet you $1,000 that Dave Grohl owns a Scholastic book of some sort somewhere.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You go to his house and you're like, dude, you got the Monster Truck book?
You got the
Sweet.
Monster Truck book. Oh, just a second. Sorry.
Hi.
I'm recording. I should have told you. Oh.
Interrupting our podcast time.
Oh, it is? Okay. We'll wrap it up.
Who does he think he is?
I'll
Taking time out of my day to talk to this guy.
Oh, sorry.
And he just lets in.
I thought my wife was giving my son a nap, but apparently he was not napping. He woke up and she came to see if I wanted a sandwich before the movie.
Whoa, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, man, now I need a sandwich. What movie are you going to see?
We're going to go see The Magnificent Seven.
Oh, yeah, I saw a preview for that when I went and saw the last Star Trek movie, and I thought it looked pretty okay.
I'm pretty excited about it. I love Westerns.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
What about Westerns do you love? What's the thing that attracts you to them?
Where did we should absolutely talk about that question. But where did we leave off before the door opened?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't.
Maybe I'll just leave all this in. I'll chop it up in some way that makes sense. What about Westerns do I love? I think it's probably, I really like Westerns, and it's probably something to do with growing up watching them. My dad was a big Western fan also, and so, and I just kind of like the whole mythology and the way they look. I just love the idea of the Old West in the Hollywood fashion. I know that it's probably not even close to accurate, but I love the idea of it.
Rampant disease, unwashed people.
Like, nobody was
Yeah.
as pretty or as tough looking, probably, as they're actually portrayed.
Nobody was a Chris Pratt, let me tell you. That is a good-looking Western dude.
Yes.
Whoo boy. I don't even know who else is in that movie, but I see Chris Pratt's in it. and I'm
Denzel.
like, gotta see it.
Mhm.
What?
Denzel's in it, yeah.
No way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm stoked. It's going to
Holy
be
crap.
great.
That seems perfect.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Denzel in a Western? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm super excited.
Well, now I'm excited.
I haven't even looked at... Usually I look up Rotten Tomatoes or something. I haven't even done so.
You don't even want to know what other people think of this one. You want to go in cold turkey and have your own opinion formed.
Yeah, and I'll form it rapidly.
You don't want to spend the whole movie going like, oh, I don't know if this is a 6. Maybe solid 5, but like a 6.3? Who are these people?
Yeah, I mean, really. Well, with that said, I was informed on what time it is also when she came to check on me, and I need to actually, unless I have time for a few more questions, if you do, but I might need to wrap this thing up.
Nah, I don't want to know anything else. I've had enough.
You know too much already. The illusion's been shattered.
Hey, I'm Mr. Interviewer here. I'll say when it's over, and it's over.
We're well over an hour at this point, so...
Well over an hour.
We go too much further, we're going to have to break this up into a multi-parter.
Oh, man, and that'll get you close to good old 50.
Oh, we're knocking on the door. 50's close.
Knocking on the door.
That's crazy to think about for me. I'm not going to lie. That there's 50 episodes.
Are you knocking on the door, or is 50 knocking on the door? Are you knocking, or is 50 going, can I come in?
No, I think I'm knocking.
Is it time for me yet?
I think I'm like, hey, 50, will you get here already? Or no, I'm waiting for 50 to knock on the door. That's what it is.
Wake up!
Yeah. I invited 50 to the party, and I'm like, come on, man. Where you at, dude? Like, you're supposed to be here.
50's always fashionably late, though.
Yeah. Or are we talking about 50 Cent? No, I invited 50 Cent to the party.
You don't say nothing about my boy 50 Cent.
Right.
Don't you dare.
No, I invited him to the party. He's not here yet. I'm wondering where 50 Cent is.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Blake also controversially believes that 50 Cent is always late to parties. Wow.
Well, I mean...
I think I've heard enough.
I don't have to explain myself. I've been spending this whole podcast explaining myself. I'm done explaining myself.
No. Well, I just hope you don't have to explain yourself to Curtis. His name, right? Yeah, Curtis Jackson.
Curtis Jackson.
I just Googled it to make sure I was right. Thank you, brain, for keeping that in there.
Yes.
I don't know why I needed it, but it came in handy.
Yep. Today, your brain knew that one day you would need to recite the name Curtis, and in this particular format, so it filed it away for you. There you go.
Curtis. Wow. Wow. That's some foresight.
Right. And on that
Blake,
bombshell.
It's been so good talking to you, man. Thanks for having me again on your lovely and glorious show. But this time as the question asker and not the askee, or however those words work.
Yes.
Been great.
Thank you very much for coming on. Should I wrap this thing up in the traditional fashion then?
Yeah, wrap it up in a traditional little bow and knot.
All right, here we go. All right. Well, for Mike, I'm Blake, and as always, folks, good luck and good tones.
All right, guys, that's it. That does it for this episode. That was by far the longest episode I've done. Hopefully you guys were able to stick with it till the end. If not, you're not listening to this right now anyway, which is just a dirty shame. It's a dirty shame because you're going to miss out on something I'm going to tell you. This episode is coming out the day I'm going to NAMM. So, like, here in a few hours, this is dropping, and I'll be in the air. And once I get to NAMM, Sinusoid, those wonderful, wonderful human beings who are also sponsoring this episode, so go buy some of their cables already. Why don't you have slivers on your pedal board? Anyway, the wonderful boys at Sinusoid are throwing a Tone Mob pizza party. So, look me up, shoot me an email. If you're in the Facebook group, you've probably seen it. We're doing a pizza party at 12:30 on Friday at NAMM. And if you're a cool kid, you'll be there. So be one of the cool kids. Come hang out, chat on some pizza, and I might hand out a prize to somebody. All right, take care. I'll hopefully see you at NAMM, or I'll talk to you next week.
One last thing before we totally sign off here, I just want to remind you that if you do any shopping at Stringjoy, that's Stringjoy guitar strings made in Nashville, that will help me out as well. As I've said for years, I'm heavily involved in that company,
and I really do think they're making the best products on the market. So if you would like to try custom strings, go to tonemob.com/stringjoy and check them out today. I seriously love what the team down there is doing. I help them out with all kinds of things, and by you supporting them, you are also supporting me as well. And hey, you need some strings, so why not get some custom strings just for your guitar and playing style? Again, the link for that is tonemob.com/stringjoy, and that will take you right to their website, and you can do all your shopping through there, and that will help everyone involved out. So thank you very much. Talk to you next time. We are brought to you by the wonderful folks at Gun Street Wiring Shop. Yes, Gun Street Wiring Shop. I've talked about them before. I used to say based out of Bend, Oregon, but guess what? Sean moved to my neck of the woods. Sean's in Portland. Sean is awesome and has helped me with a bunch of stuff lately. And if you have wiring needs for your guitar, he can help you too. If you want to get weird with it, he can get weird. If you just need to spruce things up a little bit, there's your guy. He takes all the guesswork out of doing your guitar wiring, and he makes it simple, and his customer service is top-notch, and I can't say enough good things about Gun Street as a company. I really respect Sean and what he's all about, and the product is top-notch. I've got 3 different guitars that now have Gun Street harnesses in them, and I could not be happier. So go to gunstreetwiringshop.com and check them out.